He's Sports Illustrated senior writer. David, give the audience a backdrop of what you do for the magazine.
I tend to report on kind of science and medicine issues, which dovetails with doping and investigative stuff, and then sports generally. Otherwise, lots of Olympic sports type stuff.
What was the technicality that was raised here that helped Ryan Braun get off?
Well, according to the drug testing agreement between Major League Baseball and the union, the urine samples are supposed to get to the WADA-accredited lab in Montreal within 24 hours of collection. And this particular sample was taken, later in the day on a Saturday, and apparently there was no FedEx available, so it was stored in the refrigerator of the doping control officer until the following Monday when it was sent to the lab. So it didn't get there within the prescribed 24 hours.
Okay, what's that do to a sample if it's been sitting for 48 hours?
I mean, well, nothing much. I mean, that's actually pretty standard practice for World Anti-Doping Agency protocol since there's so many world sporting events on weekends or even sometimes over holidays. So when the sample gets to the lab, they test it for degradation. And in this case, the sample, based on my sources, the sample was not degraded. So it's pretty standard.
But if you're looking at this sample, was the seal broken when they got it to see if it had been tampered with?
No, it wasn't, and as far as I know, that wasn't something that was challenged. So it seems to have been sealed to basically have stayed in the doping control officer's refrigerator as opposed to kind of a Kinko's box over the weekend, and that's the issue because that 24 hours is what was agreed upon in the drug testing agreement.
From what I've been told, 3 times the testosterone level that I guess one in a urine test. You found that with Ryan Braun. What was leaked, first of all, aside from the tested positives, is that he had herpes and that he was taking medicine for that condition. Could any medicine like that spike your urine sample to have it 3 times the synthetic levels?
Well, so as I reported, ESPN reported the sample test positive for synthetic testosterone, so you wouldn't expect that from a medication unless the medication was synthetic testosterone. And he'd have a therapeutic use exemption for any approved medication, so that would be understood by the testers. And they aren't actually testing the absolute levels of testosterone. They test what's called your TE ratio, so it's the ratio of testosterone to another hormone called epitestosterone in your body.
Yep.
So the fluctuations of your absolute level aren't as important as the ratio, and that shouldn't particularly be upset by a medication like that.
Why do you think the arbitrator ruled in favor of Ryan Braun?
Well, I of course it was a split 2-to-1 vote, and by the agreement, the joint drug testing agreement, it says, barring extreme circumstances, the sample was supposed to get to the lab within 24 hours, and that didn't happen.
You think it just came down to that technicality? You don't think there's anything, nefarious going on here?
Well, so we know there were some other things discussed in arbitration, like the fact that, Braun hasn't gone through massive physical changes, he didn't appear to have side effects and things like that, but from everything that I've reported, that seems to have been what it hinged on. And that's not to say he did or didn't ingest synthetic testosterone on purpose or not, but that seems to be the issue that, that held sway here.
But he offered to take a DNA test. He took a lie detector test.
Yeah.
Would any of those things exonerate? If you took a DNA test, what would come out of that?
In this case,
yeah.
There's no use for a DNA test. I mean, so in the arbitration hearing, again, from what my sources have told me, that the testing results themselves weren't really challenged. So I don't think there's really anything to that particularly.
All right. Let me give you the poll question before I get you out of here. McLevin, give David the wording on the poll question.
Did Ryan Braun, is he innocent or did he get off on a technicality?
And you want me to answer that question?
Yep.
Well, so I'm going to continue to report on it, so I want to stay somewhat objective, but I'll say his sample tested positive. Now, does guilt imply that he knowingly did it? I mean, I have no idea, but his sample tested positive, so I don't know what you consider that, guilty or technicality or whatever.
But if the sample is guilty, then he's guilty, right? Is there's no other way to interpret that? If the seal, there was no seal that was broken on it, that yes, it was 48 hours instead of shipped right away, but he actually tested positive. So in your mind, guilty?
Well, so sometimes people test positive in their defenses because a supplement was tainted and they couldn't have known. There was no way they could have known and things like that. And that actually does happen, and those people get off on appeal. So they will have legitimately tested positive, but they won't be guilty in the sense of deserving a suspension. So as far as that goes, I really don't know.
David, thanks for joining us. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right. David Epstein, he's a senior writer for Sports Illustrated.